What's up, guys? My name is Ted DarkClaw, and with me, as always, is Aaron, the Black Knight. Aaron, sir, how are you? You're on mute, or I've been on mute the whole time, and this is going to be really awkward.
I, I think you muted me. I don't know. But
I would
anyway,
never do such a
yes,
thing.
yes, you would. Don't lie to these fine people. Yes, you would. But I'm good. I'm good. It's Sunday. We got a super awesome guest this week. Totally stoked for it. I worked today. Kind of weird. That's really what's throwing me off because Sunday's supposed to be like my chill day, and I found myself working. But I have tomorrow off, so it's kind of like a nice fair exchange for the day. We barbecued, some burgers, some hot dogs, something simple.
Very nice.
But no, just a good overall Sunday, man.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm good. The store has been doing well this week. All these helladopers have been coming out, supporting the business, getting their toys super fast. We've been seeing all the posts on the Instagrams and whatnots. Yeah, man, I'm having a great week, and it's about to be ended very well because we have an amazing guest tonight. So can I talk about our guest a little bit?
Absolutely.
So, our guest tonight, if you are not aware, was boys with Jim Henson, hung out with Jim Henson. I imagine, they spent many a nights maybe hanging out at the water cooler, talking about Muppets and whatnot, but he got to work on The Dark Crystal and made a lot of creations for that movie. He got to work on Fraggle Rock. And then he went on to.
I love that show, man.
Oh, I know, such a good show. We should rewatch that together sometime.
We should, absolutely.
Okay, I'm down. Let's find a day. And then he went on to start making toys. Most notably, what we're going to be talking about tonight were Boglins, co-creator of Boglins and Sectaurs. And so I would like to give a big hella dope welcome to our very, very special guest tonight. We are super honored and pleased to have Mr. Tim Clarke. Tim, how are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Excellent. So before we begin anything, Aaron and I have a tradition here where I have to ask Aaron this silly question, or else the chat will crucify us.
It's true, they will.
And that question is, Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
What are you sipping on?
Today, I was gonna go with the old trusty, but I wanted to do something a little different today. I went with the classic King of Beers, Budweiser.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy, just something nice and simple to sip on.
I like it. I
gotta stay professional with Tim on. I can't be showing my colors. You gotta say that for next week.
Very professional here. Very professional.
Yes. Mr. DarkClaw, if you don't mind me asking, what is it that you're sipping on today?
Well, I am always rocking the Hella Dope mug made by Miss Simi Skies, and in it is actually water. I'm sipping on some water. I'm sipping on some water.
That's a first for you, sir.
I know, exactly. As DarkClaw said, really? And I said, yeah, I'm going to go with water tonight. But don't worry, we always bring the side piece. And as always, I am rocking the trusty Miller Lite.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so boring.
This is weird.
I was expecting something, like local, some nice local beer.
Well, I mean, the Anheuser-Busch plant is right here in Columbus, Ohio. So, this is about as local as I'll get.
All over the place. There's one in Jersey too.
We don't go to
water
Jersey.
From Jersey? Let me tell you, I won't.
So I actually have a situation here because this, in fact, is not a Miller Lite. And there was a note attached to this, and it says, "Found this in your fridge. XOXO crazy clown. Ha 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 ha." So what I am sipping on is a classic Miller. I don't know how that got there, to be honest. So we're drinking on the classic Miller Lite. But Mr. Tim Clarke, man of apparently exquisite taste, we are curious. What are you sipping on?
Belgium Fat Tire.
A Belgian fat tire. I've only had that once or twice. Usually, just kind of like if I'm out at a bar that I don't know anyone at, I'll try different like beers. So I enjoy the taste of a good fat tire, but it's not my go-to.
Well, I just came back from doing the troll show in Belgium.
Oh, okay.
I went to the local liquor store and bought 6 different types of Belgian beers. And some of them were really wonderful. Some of them were too sweet for my taste, but most of them were great. And the sponsors of the troll show are the Troll Brewery.
The best German
of the show, I could go to the bar and drink beer anytime I wanted during the show.
Oh wow!
as much as I wanted, which was a very dangerous thing.
Oh, absolutely. I had
because
a
it was hard enough staying awake, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a place that used to be here. It's not open anymore, but they I had a Salvatore. That was like one of the German beers I had. It's like they served like brats and all that stuff, like not so fancy in the food department, but they had like all the beers you could dream of. A friend of mine was a bartender there, so he's like, "Hey, try this," and probably had 3 of them, and somehow I needed to go home and I couldn't. I had to like call an Uber home. It was like 12.5%, and he didn't tell me that until afterwards. I'm sitting here pounding a beer, like, wow.
Well, yeah, I have to tell you, when I worked at the Henson Studios in London, there was a deli around the corner from the studio on the high street, and they had beers from all over the world. So every day at lunchtime, I said, well, I'll just try a different beer each time. So I'm going through all these different beers. It came to a Belgian beer called Chimay. They have a white cap, a red cap, and a blue cap. And unbeknownst to me, I think it was the one with the blue cap, I can't remember, was 14% alcohol.
Wow.
And I had it at lunchtime, and I was like, lotto for the rest of the afternoon. I said, well, I'm not having that again. Right. And I was telling one of the guys at the studio, and he said, well, which one did you have? He said, I want to try that. After that, he had one every day at lunchtime. And I was amazed that he was functioning, because it's like drinking a bottle of wine.
Right.
So. Well, we like talking about PowerCon, and you mentioned that you're going to be there. So maybe now Aaron and I are not classy. We go to the back alley to drink our beers. But if you want to meet us there,
okay,
we will.
You let me know.
We will have a beer waiting for you.
Bud, and I'm not drinking Miller.
Heard that.
We'll find some fancier things for you.
Look, I'm bringing Bobby Vala a fancy cigar. I will bring you the finest beer that Columbus has to offer. So we'll do that.
I look forward to finding out what the local breweries are.
Yeah, there's one right. Well, I got Anheuser-Busch literally here, and then a very nice small IPA style brewery. Literally, like I could throw a rock at it. It's wild the amount of creations they have in here. So, the chat is already exploding, so we're gonna check in with them. And then I know there's already questions for you. Some of them we're gonna get to, but we can get to them a little bit early. And we'll just kind of see what's going on with this chat. And boy, is there a lot. There is a lot, Tim. You brought a crowd tonight.
I mean,
you lost your place. That's okay.
No, my computer is not working today, so who we got? We got Rumble Toys, our famous photographer,
and
Frank.
Yeah, shout out to Frank, because Frank provided us that Boglins photo that we used for the intro and the hype video. Right. Frank is a huge fan of yours as well. And Realm of Toys 89 on Instagram. Go follow him. Thank you so much for supplying us with that photo, Frank.
Yeah, by the way, Tim, Frank was very ecstatic when you commented on his photo that he took. Like, he was across the moon and then some.
Oh,
He's like, oh my
that's
god,
nice.
he's like, he liked my video, my picture. Like, dude, yeah, that's awesome. So yes, you got a fan for life. That is for sure. We got the
Good.
one and only Jim Largo from Largo's Lair saying greetings, good evening, sir. I hope you're doing well.
And another side note for Jim Largo, Tim, if you did not know, Largo's Lair is a YouTube channel, but a few weeks ago, he did an episode of his show Beasties and Baddies, where he specifically talked about Boglins, which I got to hang out and talk about. So
cool.
if you're ever bored or driving around, need a good listen, that's the show to check out right there.
Okay.
Who else we got? We got it's a new name in the chat, Barry the Change Checker. Is this live? I hope so. If not, we're still stuck in that weird
we're all
paradox
dead.
universe. I hope not. So I got some things to do, Tim. Cutthroat, marathon of Fraggle Rock. I am down. I am 100% down for a marathon of Fraggle Rock. I probably couldn't even tell you the last time I watched. I think didn't they try to reboot it like a couple years ago? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind.
Fraggle Rock is back on.
It is back on. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember which channel it's on, but they brought it back out last year, and
I knew it wasn't going crazy.
It's had a great response. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Everything in my life from 35 years ago is being regurgitated, which is really funny.
I feel that.
It's kind of an odd, situation.
But that's what we're here for, man. That's what we're here. We're bringing it back.
Bringing it back
good
to
stuff.
Nostalgia. Miss Simi Skies saying welcome, Mr. Tim Clarke,
Creator of the Hella Dope mug.
Yes.
Mugs up, brothers.
Axion Figs saying Tim Clarke, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Ed,
Cutthroat Comics is sipping on some chalky milk.
That's a good choice.
Not mad at it.
Yeah.
I do like a good chocolate milk. I mean, I get fancy with the strawberry milk though.
Can't drink milk, it'll lead to sad times.
And we got Damian Rostori. Greetings all. I still have my original flogged Boglin in a safe place 33 years later. My favorite was Slobster. Great memories, Tim Clarke.
Oh, Damien, hang around. We're gonna harass Tim about some soggy Boglins for sure.
Soggy Boglins. Oh my
shake
goodness.
him. We're gonna shake him down. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Who we got? I guess first question from the chat. Cutthroat Comics wants to know what inspired you upon to create Boglins?
Working on Dark Crystal. Especially. The funny thing is, Brian had assigned me to sculpt the pod people, and he would give me these quick little sketches. And the first sculpt I took back to him, he said, "No, Tim, they're supposed to be happy potato people. This guy looks really depressed." And I said, "Oh, okay." But, he said, "Here," and he would give me another sketch and say, "Here, go do this one." And I would sculpt what I thought he was representing in the drawing. And I bring it back to him and he goes, "No, Tim, this is not right. This is not." I said, "Well, Brian, you've got these characters with one eye over here, one eye over here, and then, this weird smirk on his face. How am I supposed to make him look happy?" And he said, "No, they should be happy potato people." I said, "Okay, fine." And he would do me another little drill. And then finally I took the third one back. He said, "All right, forget it. Yours are going to be slaves." And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." He said, "Because all of these things look depressed." I said, "No, it has nothing to do with it." So anyway, I think almost all of the sculpts I did of pod people are slaves. And when I was sent back to New York after working on Dark Crystal, Hasbro, which had a separate line called Aviva, had gotten the license to do the Dark Crystal toys. So I sculpted the Mystic, the Landstrider, and the Gartham for Hasbro. And then I went to Jim while I was working on Fraggle Rock, and I said, Jim, you know, we should open a design studio to design toy products that we then show to the toy industry, because we're doing so much better and more innovative things than what the toy companies are producing. And especially, like, they'd get a license to do a Big Bird ride-on, and you know, they'd slap a sticker on the wheels and you know, maybe do a simple sculpt for a medallion on the front of it, but other than that, it looked like a regular big wheel. It didn't look like something that belonged to Sesame Street. And I said to him, we could be doing things that would be so much more innovative. And he looked at me and he said, Tim, it's a wonderful idea. I just don't want to do it. and I always said that was like the best kick in the pants I ever got in my life, because after Fraggle Rock, Jim had trouble, much to everybody's amazement, selling another TV show or concept or film or TV concept to the industry. And he had a glut of sculptors and designers and everything else from Sesame Street, Muppet Show, Dark Crystal, Fraggle Rock. So from all those productions, there was a lot of people working in the workshop. And the head of the workshop at that time, or the head of Muppets, came to me and said, we're putting a lot of you on permanent freelance. And I said, what the heck is permanent freelance? He said, well, basically, we're going to call you when we need you. And I said, okay, fine. And they laid a whole bunch of us off. And I started doing toy design and toy development on my own. And the first thing that was sold to Coleco by Seven Towns, who was my agent at that time, was Sectaurs. And it was based on a hand puppet that I made using my hand, and it was a fly. And I made it because I hated wearing masks at Halloween parties, because, you know, what's the point of going to a Halloween party wearing a mask and you can't drink anything, you can't eat anything, and you have trouble talking to people, you know? So I made this fly, and, you know, his proboscis would just go around and sit on people's cups and dip it into their drink, or, you know, and people just, the reaction to it was, you know, really spectacular. Or would sit it on their shoulder and have it walk across their back, and, you know, oh, that's disgusting, you know? So that was the source of Sectaurs. And Larry Mass, who was the agent at Seven Towns in New York at that time, said, this is great. You know, he said, I love this thing. He said, we should put an action figure on the back of it. So that's where Sectaurs came from. And that was the first of, you know, who knows how many toy property ideas I came up with at the time. That was the first one to actually sell and be produced. And, you know, at that time, I did not know how difficult it was for outside designers to sell concepts to toy companies, because basically they figured everybody was stealing ideas from everybody else, because basically that's what toy companies do. So if you're an outside inventor, they just figure, oh, well, you got this idea from somebody else and you brought it to us. So they don't want to see you. The only company that would see me was Hasbro, and that was because I had done the sculpting work for them. But everybody else said no. That's how I ended up getting the agent, Seven Towns, because they had represented Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
So that was my, you know, kind of rude awakening to trying to sell products to the toy business.
Frank here says that he had the Sector Spider Hand puppet.
Yeah.
And then I was someone in the chat had mentioned that Fraggle Rock is on Apple TV.
Oh, okay, cool.
Good to know. It's good to know.
Yeah, and it won like some major award this past year for, being one of the best children's television programs. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's phenomenal to know that something can come back from like my childhood, to still have kids today still watch it in the same awe that I did so many years ago. So that's fantastic.
Because people who watched those programs or who had those toy products like Boglins and Sectaurs want them for their kids because they have fond memories of them. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm. So actually, that leads to this question here from Unboxing Art. So as it loads my computers, he says Tim Clarke is the man. I'm a huge fan and love his work from my childhood to current. So a lot of people in the chat that I've seen so far have somehow you've touched them somehow with your work over the years and still to this very day. Which so that is a phenomenal thing that you can continue doing something like this to like you had said before, to affect us as adults, to relay down to our kids and hopefully to their kids and so forth.
Yeah, I have to tell you, when I did the Troll show, which is like a Comic-Con show in Belgium, but it's all geared towards fantasy and, fictional characters in the realm of the fantastic. And we had, because Boglins went on to sell in Europe for, 8 years after Nacelle stopped making them. There's a much bigger fan base for Boglins in Europe. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's incredible. And at the Troll show, luckily I'm taller than most people. And I had the Boglins up over my head. And there were people lined up in front of our, booth space. And there would be little kids way back in the building who would look up and see me manipulating this Boglin. And I could see them and they could see the Boglin, and they would immediately grab their parents' hand and like start dragging them towards the booth. And to see that reaction, of kids who had never seen a Boglin before, like, what the heck is that thing? I have to go find out what it is. It was great. It was
we had a very similar reaction at one of our local toy shows here back in March. So we had them on display. A lot of kids had that same like that same look. Like more, it was like, what is that? I'm so intrigued to know what it is. I have to go look. And then Ted over here, he gets into his crazy clown mode, and like. One little kid got scared. Like, I'm still looking, but I'm going to step back 30 feet because I don't know what you're about to do. But, like, even some of the adults are like, oh, yeah, I remember having this. And, it was just a fun time to, like, watch Ted, for one, talk about something that he was so passionate about to adults, to kids. And it was just fun to watch.
For me, too.
What else we got? Unboxing Art once again. Ted's wearing that sick Boglin shirt. It looks very comfy.
It's super comfy. It came with the Boglins Kickstarter, and Tim, I might be mistaken, but people can still buy these, correct? Or is this?
Yeah, Tri-Action is still selling them.
Okay, awesome. Get yourself and you know what? This is like right up Unboxing Art's alley too, because he is an artist as well as a toy YouTuber, but he does very amazing art, which is very much a similar style for this. And I don't know, maybe if you do another run of trading cards, maybe he can submit some art for that as well. That is definitely his style.
The artists that did the work for the trading cards, I really didn't have much control over who they chose. I recommended some people, but it was totally up to Dynamite. They, it's under their they licensed it and they took it in the direction they wanted to go. And I just got this past week the first shipment of them, and I posted it on Facebook and Instagram. They came out really, really well. I'm very pleased with them.
I saw the pictures. They do look amazing, and even the original art that you guys were showing during the Kickstarter was awesome. And the fact that you were pulling in some independent artists for that. Again, it just goes back to the community and the love for Boglins, and people had an opportunity to be a part of Boglins history.
From doing all these Comic-Con shows, I got to meet a lot of really fantastic comic book artists and illustrators. So, I was saying to Dynamite, how about this guy? How about this guy? How about this guy? And some of them, they agreed with or had worked with before, and so they were open to it. It was good.
So, Simi Skies, Ted, wants to know, does Tim Clarke know that you used to terrorize her with Boglins as a small child?
I don't know if terrorize is the word. It's more of a have super fun, awesome, happy interactions with Boglins.
This is a common theme.
That's what she meant. That's what she meant.
I feel the word terrorize still fits in this conversation somewhere.
She's 19, and she's still in those teenage years, a little dramatic sometimes. I would never terrorize my own child. I would never do that. That's not my style.
Okay,
not my style. Family fun here.
Another new name in the chat. What was it? Nacelle Nerds. Thank you.
Niece Nerds, maybe?
Niece,
I don't know.
maybe.
We're bad at pronunciations.
Yes.
But thank you.
Pod people, boil them, smash them, and stick them in a stew. I very remember hearing that through commercials. So I'm glad someone was able to bring that up.
I don't remember that, but that's bizarre.
Yeah, I just watched too much TV as a kid, so it's it sticks in your brain after a while. And then Damien wanted to know if you remembered Terrahawks. That was his first and favorite show as a kid regarding puppetry.
I remember Terrahawks. I don't remember there being puppets in it. I remember an animated series, probably that my son watched as a little kid. But I don't remember there being puppets per se. But sometimes local TV shows did things with puppets as an introduction for animated series, and so it depended on which region of the country you live in.
Good to know.
Is that the
show
chat?
Is yours, sir? Yeah.
Cool. Well, we got a lot there from the chat. So we kind of dabbled in your origin story. Is there anything? Because that's always the first question after what you sipping on is very much what's your origin story, and you kind of elaborated a little bit on that. Is there anything that you would like to add about that in regards to you've spoken of doing puppet shows in your basement to
when I was a kid,
making spider puppets with your hands in a class, to working with Jim Henson. You've had career after career after career, very storied careers. So is there anything that you wanted to dabble on before we got into the other stuff?
No, I mean, in all honesty, I was majoring in art education when I was at Pratt, and I expected to be a teacher. And Kermit Love, who designed Big Bird and Snuffleupagus, at the end of the class asked me if I would come and work for him, building puppets for Sesame Street, and I said yes, of course. So it was just the very luck of being in the right place at the right time and having a different way of looking at puppetry. The puppets that I designed for Kermit's class were not the traditional Muppet style of your hand in the mouth. I did a crab that was similar to a Sectaurs, which used both my hands put together. So I had 8 legs and 2 moving eyes and a hard shell across its back. And I just kept on doing things that, that were different, not the same Muppet style. And that was what got Kermit's attention. And then after a year of working for Kermit on all kinds of things, like we did a 20-foot high marionette for New York City Ballet for Don Quixote, where the windmill would change into this gigantic giant monster to fight Don Quixote. So it wasn't just doing stuff for, puppets. It was, it wasn't just for doing stuff for Sesame Street. It was a broad range of things from, we even did the reconstruction of the parade costumes for Joffrey Ballet, which were designed by Picasso. So it was a broad spectrum of things that I did when I was working for Kermit. And after a year, his workshop, the work kind of fell off, and I was going to go ask him for if I could get an interview at Muppets. And I went to his classroom at Pratt, and he saw me waiting in the doorway, and he said, "Oh, Tim, come in. I'm glad you came. Jim is starting up a new project, and I think you would be perfect for it. And you have an interview with him on Thursday." And I was like, "Is he reading my mind?" It was very, very weird. So, I went to meet with Jim, and I stuffed all my puppets in garbage bags, got on the subway from Brooklyn to go into Manhattan. Everybody thought I was homeless and backed away from me because I had all these things in garbage bags. And I went to the studio, and I went up to, I think it was the 4th floor of the Muppet Workshop, and I said, "Yeah, I'm here, for an interview with Jim." And they said, "Okay, he'll be here in a little while. Just hang out over there," and like I'm here in the middle of, all these people building puppets for Muppet Show and Sesame Street. And I'm just like looking around the room, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. And Jim came in, and I started taking out, like the crab puppet and this dragon I had made and a bunch of different puppets. And he said, "Tim, I really like what you're doing, that you're using your whole body to create a puppet, and that you're using your hands in a different way. And we're starting on this new movie that I'm creating, and that turned out to be Dark Crystal. So, and my first job was sculpting the heads for the Mystics and working on the mechanisms for their face and hands, and helping to build the support system for the costuming for the body. And in November, I started in, I believe, September, and in November we did a shoot at Jim's house in upstate New York at the time, in his backyard, as a promo to show to the production studios about the possibilities of doing this fantasy science fiction film. So that's the big origin.
That's fantastic. Like that is, me along with a couple of people I saw in the chat, like, remember watching Dark Crystal. For me, I guess my question to you is, from that interview and then that meeting with Jim to like the production, how did it feel after like knowing that they greenlighted it and like this fantasy had become an actual reality?
Well, I have to say, Jim did not have an easy time trying to sell the concept of Dark Crystal to the major studios. And finally, he went to Lord Lou Grade in England, who had produced Muppet Show. And Sir Lord Lugreat said to Jim, I will let you do this fantasy science fiction film, but you have to make another Muppet movie first. So I was in between the production of Dark Crystal in London. I worked on Dark Crystal for, I would say, maybe 6 or 7 months in the New York workshop. Then they sent a bunch of us over to start up the workshop in London. And we worked on Dark Crystal pre-production, building characters. And then we stopped and we worked on Great Muppet Caper, building puppets, and then going back to working on Dark Crystal after that. And I ended up working on Dark Crystal almost 3 years, which is unheard of. It's like, but I didn't know it was the first movie I'd ever worked on. And I had no clue that, how long, most film productions were, but we were doing something completely different, totally new, and from a totally different vantage point. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Now, so I apologize. I'm getting text messages from somebody you may know here. One Mr. Crazy Clown, and he is blowing me up, and he is dying to ask you a question. So
imagine who that would be.
He's a frenemy of the show, and he has been causing chaos on this channel since day one. But I'm just going to let him take over for a second, get his question out of the way, so we can maybe put him to bed for the night. So here we go.
Oh, hey guys, it's your old pal Crazy Clown again. Hey Ted, how's that smeared off going for you? Okay, but seriously, oh boy, this chat is going today. Hi Ed, hi Frank, hi Largo, and the rest of you guys, I don't know. Hey, but I have a really important question to ask Tim here. So, Tim, who's your favorite Boglin, and why is it Crazy Clown? Looking forward to your answer. Bye, guys. I'll see y'all later. Bye.
Dwark, the character Dwark of the Boglins line is directly based on the original sculpt that I made and was shown to Mattel for the large Boglin. And so Dwark would have to be my favorite because it looks so much like the original character that I created. Crazy Clown is Dwark in wolves' clothing, I guess, not sheep's clothing. So
that Crazy Clown, man.
That Crazy Clown, always causing chaos on our show. And maybe now he'll leave my phone alone and we can get back to business here.
Sure.
So can you give us a summary of how Boglins came and went in the US? And they had a very peak and valley popularity, yet in the UK they boomed for years and years and years, to the point where we couldn't get Boglins here anymore in the US, but they continue to thrive and survive in the UK, which I think is awesome, because maybe if that hadn't have happened, maybe we wouldn't be here right now. But can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
You can ever explain the logic behind a toy executive, you're better off than I am, because I, to this day, do not understand what Mattel was thinking at that time. They told us, they contacted 7 Towns and the head of the agency in London, and who was Tom Kramer. And Tom Kramer was the one who had launched Rubik's Cube, and said, we're not going to continue with Boglins. And Tom said, I don't understand that, because you just told me last quarter that going into the next year, you already have $7 million in orders for Boglins. And they said, yes, we know that, but we just decided we need to concentrate on core business. That was what they said at the time. So as soon as Mattel had decided to drop the line, Tom took it to Ideal in Europe, which was an English-French company, and they bought it right away and saw the potential, and it just kept expanding and expanding and expanding, you know, in ways I never expected, you know. So, and you know, Boglins has gone through a lot of cycles through a lot of different companies. There was one Action GT. It was at Ideal in Europe, and then it was at Action GT, and there was another company that brought them out in the year 2000, but it had no advertising, so nobody knew it was there, and that didn't last long. And each time, luckily, you know, the rights revert back to us, and then I think around 2015, 2016, people kept on, you know, I did a couple of Comic-Con shows, and people would say, why aren't you doing Boglins? Why aren't you bringing back Boglins? And actually, Maureen, myself, and Seven Towns have been showing Boglins to multiple toy companies for quite a few years, trying to get somebody to bring it back. We even showed Hasbro a whole new concept for Boglins maybe 5 or 6 years ago. They passed on it, and then Chris Cafoni, who had worked with me at Melissa and Doug, had Boglins as a kid, and he, you know, he was working for several different toy companies after Melissa and Doug, and each time he started working for that, you know, that particular toy company, he'd say, you know, why don't we bring Boglins back? And he would try and get it placed. And, you know, toy company after toy company passed on it. And then finally, he quit working for the last company he was working for. And he called me up and he said, Tim, I really want to do Boglins. Let's do Boglins. And I said to him, great, you know, let's do a Kickstarter. Because my heart is really in design and development of toy products. I was making handmade Boglins for a couple of years, but it was 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day, and exhausting. So when Chris said, you know, let's do it, and then I said to him, okay, let's do a Kickstarter. And he said to me, what's a Kickstarter? Because he came from very traditional toy sales background. And I said, well, you launch the line on Kickstarter, and people who are interested in backing it will order. And the line was supposed to launch the night before Halloween, and it launched 12 hours earlier.
Wow.
By the next morning at 10 o'clock, it had fully funded at $25,000. And Chris calls me up and he goes, Tim, what and bleep is going on? I said, I told you there's a lot of fan base, you know, there's a lot of people out there who want them back. And he couldn't believe it. And it just kept building and building and building. And we raised enough money to do the molds. So it was great, you know. And then there's been peaks and valleys, you know. It's like I was telling you guys, you know, earlier, and I'm never sure why. It's like the first series did phenomenally well, you know, the first 3 characters. I thought Bat Boglins would be a big hit because it was something that the fan base had been asking me for many years. You know, like, they were in the Mattel catalog. How come they never came out? How come nobody ever did them? You know, it's like, and yet the sale of bat boglins was very slow. I don't know why that is. Oh gosh, I'm running low on battery, guys.
Oh no.
Oh,
Hold on.
hold on.
I gotta go find a charger.
It's okay. It's okay. Technical difficulties happen.
Okay. Where's now I gotta find the right cord. Sorry.
Yep, you're all right.
That's all right. We're
There we go.
getting real world here, and we're getting a tour of your home, which is also amazing. You know, this is what
Okay.
the fans want to see. You know.
Okay. So let's see. Where was I?
Oh, you were talking about the
Yeah, so
Kickstarter
the
blew up.
Kickstarter was amazing, and bat boglins, the sales have been slow. I don't know if it's a price point issue or people don't, for whatever reason. But then we did zombies, and zombies is completely sold out. There's less than 80 of each style left, and they haven't even shipped yet. They will be shipping later this month. We should be getting them, Chris should be getting them into the warehouse in June. We hope, as long as there's not another Omicron crisis or
not again.
I mean, I literally, the things that have happened, from launching the Kickstarter, and it was such an incredible success, and then the virus coming out, and the shipping costs went from like $3,500 for a container from China to $15,000 for one shipping container. And people were going, why is the price of boglins going up? And we were like going, because the container shipments has gone through the roof, and now the prices have come back down. They're not back to what they were, but it's more affordable. But it's like the hills and valleys that Chris, and I don't think people realize Tri-Action Toys is one person. It's totally Chris running it. I'm doing design work and helping on that end, but it's really Chris who has done this single-handedly, and he's to be praised, because it has not been easy. We have been through every calamity that could possibly happen. I mean, at one point, the container was held up in the port in New York, and we called, and Chris called and said, well, what's going on? What's the holdup? They said, oh, it's just the container's at the other end of the dock. That's all. And Chris said, well, when is it going to be released? Oh, well, custom has to go through it. I said, well, this is a known toy. This is a known product that we've already received. Oh, it's just a formality. Don't worry, you'll have them in a couple of weeks. And Chris was like going crazy. And he said, I just waited a month to get them here. Mm-hmm. And now you're telling me it's going to take a couple of weeks just to get it from one side of the port to the. That's the way it is. Well, I don't. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
I'd like to follow up with that on just two notes, and I think we'll probably, because there's a lot of questions for you here in the chat still too. But two notes. Sure. One, if you want zombie boglins, you can go to theboglins.com, and you can also go to helladopetoys.com, because if theboglins.com sells out, helladopetoys.com still has zombie boglins up for pre-order. You can go there right now and get all your boglins. Pretty much, we have almost all of them. A lot of them sold out, but go get your boglin fix in honor of the man here. And then on the note of Chris, because I didn't know he was a one-man operation.
Yeah.
I mainly talk to Stan, and I love Stan. Stan is actually, whenever Stan calls, he's one of my favorite people to talk to. But I am always appreciative to Tri-Action, because without Triaction, there would be no helladopetoys. So I was just a guy flipping clearance toys. And after the Boglins Kickstarter had launched, they sent out that email to everybody, said, "Hey, anybody who's interested in being a retail partner, you can reach out to us." And that was the first opportunity that I had to actually have a legit supplier. And I went from just doing like $200 or $300 a month to doing thousands of dollars a month. And if it weren't for that, I probably would have quit. And and a lot of that was Boglin sales. So
that's awesome.
Triaction was able to supply me, which kept me going. For another year before we formed up the Helladope brand. And honestly, we formed up the Helladope brand at PowerCon on one of the days that we interacted with you. And, you sold some of the Boglins that we had. And, that was literally where we formed this unity. So this is kind of like a full circle thing here. You created this thing. We're able to sell toys because you recreated this thing, and then we had an opportunity through Chris to be able to, throw it out there. So not only am I a lifelong lover of Boglins, I very much appreciate the opportunity to have the chance to sell them as well. So,
thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing. Because we started from nothing in, bringing the brand back. It's great to hear that it's being successful for people, and we're open to people who are, Chris is open to people who are starting out, because we're just starting out, in many, many ways. So even though it's been around for a long time, it's a whole new birth process.
Well, Aaron, I think there's some stuff in the chat. Aaron, do you have any follow-ups for Tim?
Oh no, I'll save those for later. This chat, they're dying with questions and things they want to know.
They have questions for the man. That's why we invited them in. So
exactly. Yeah. Damien once again was wondering. It's loading. Sectaurs were fun toys, but not too often found in the UK. Is that something that is in the works to help our UK friends get access to? Because I know
Nacelle is now going to be producing Sectaurs, and they are also planning on doing a new animated series, which is going to be awesome. Maureen has written a new script or treatment for the continuation of Sectaurs for the animated story. So we're very hopeful. I mean, Nacelle, if people don't know who Nacelle is, did the series The Toys That Made Us, which has been incredibly popular on Netflix. They've also done a series on toy stores throughout, mostly the US, I think some a bit in England, on, unique toy stores and what they're doing, and the toys that, they have from their collections, that they're promoting from, stuff from 30 years ago. And so I'm really looking forward to see what, they do. It's like I find out in bits and pieces, just like everybody else.
Yeah, we actually got partnered with Nacelle 2 weeks I want to say like 2 weeks ago. So
great.
We will have Sectaurs available. They also
awesome.
It was kind of great talking to him on the phone, because Biker Mice from Mars was a huge combatant to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Robo Force was another huge thing. So to see all this come back, and like I said, it really just ties right back into you with bringing something back that was so great back in the 80s, early 90s, and here we are in 2023, and we're having it right back here all over again.
And I have to tell you guys, Sectaurs is another property that Maureen, myself, and Seven Towns has been trying to place at a toy company, all the majors for years and years. And unfortunately, because Coleco went, belly up, there was a stigma that Sectaurs was not successful, but that was not the case. That was not what forced Coleco into bankruptcy. It was Atom Computers. They launched a desktop computer. This was way before Apple, and unfortunately, the computers didn't work. They had shipped all this product, all of it was returned, and it forced them into bankruptcy.
Wow.
So,
that I didn't know.
Yeah, it was, and here, Maureen and I were, when we placed that line, we were so excited. It was our first toy property. We had done something that we thought was really unique and different, and to have it disappear, not from anything that, the toy line itself had created, caused its downfall. It was very unfortunate. So I'm really happy that, again, Nacelle in many ways is a startup company.
Right.
Yes, they've had some great success on Netflix, but I'm happy that they are such positive, forward-looking toy people. They're people who love, that generation of toys, and they're proving it.
Absolutely.
They're doing some amazing things. So let's wait and see. I can't. I know you guys are waiting, and
Absolutely.
I'm waiting too.
I'm waiting for that invoice to pop up.
Okay.
That's what I'm waiting on. Like, let's pay the bill first.
Let's pay the bill.
Frank from Rumble Toys, once again on Instagram, he wanted to know, with Boglins being available again, will there ever be a chance down the line to have some of the obscure characters from the past, like Soggy Boglins, brought back?
I need a slopster.
I from your lips to God's ears, as they say. I don't know. There's so many things happening with Boglins right now, which I can't talk about. But hopefully by the time I get to the show in Columbus, I will be able to discuss the new avenues that Boglins is going to be going down. And it's very exciting. And like I said, from everybody's lips to God's ears, that this, because so many times things that I have created go ghost in the wind, so as soon as I can announce it, I will let you guys know.
For sure. You see Ted over there, he got all perked up when you said you had something special coming.
Well, I was kind of hoping Tim would maybe sip on his beer a little bit more than the loose lips, but it's fine. We'll wait till PowerCon.
No. Well, I may be able to tell you before that. I have been told by 7 towns that I cannot discuss it yet.
That's fair. We don't want to break any legally binding things. But a tease is a good tease, and we appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else we got? Axion Figs, our moderator, or one of 2 moderators.
I'm going to flip on. You know what? I'm going to flip on the lights before I disappear into darkness.
You're okay.
You're right.
Just give me a second.
No problem. But I think we can answer this question, right, Aaron?
I think so. Can we?
Yeah. Didn't he answer that already? For us?
Maybe.
Will Tim Clarke be at PowerCon this year?
No, the question was what other cons.
Oh, what other cons? Okay, I'm sorry. I've been drinking this Smirnoff, and
we know.
I just sent out a bunch of emails to a bunch of different cons because I was living in Connecticut. I recently moved to New Mexico, so I will be doing some cons on the West Coast. I hope I will be doing PowerCon in Ohio. I hope that it hasn't been confirmed yet that I will be doing the Comic-Con in Tucson Labor Day weekend. There's a bunch of other shows that I've sent. So I may be doing one in San Antonio, and if not this year, next year. I know that the show in Ontario, Canada, in London, Ontario, I was there last year. They were saying they were going to have me back, so they're starting to come together. I have already done a few, this winter and spring, but we'll see. Who knows how many more?
Fair enough. What else we got? Some more new names in the chat. One is, what's his name? Patrick. I'm not gonna try to say it.
Strelko. Patrick Strelko.
There it
Hey,
is.
welcome.
He says, "What's up?" Chad told him to say hi. So no.
And let's take a moment to give a shout out to our TGIS partners. Articulated Chad goes on Sunday every 7 p.m. and he had the Loose But Complete cast, Ryan and Jeremy, on today, which was a killer show. I got to watch most of it, so I strongly recommend catching that replay. And then when we end, the Sunny Channel will be on at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Maybe if he shows up to work, because he didn't do that last week. He just left us all hanging. But every Sunday, Articulated Chat at 7 p.m. This show is hella dope at 9 p.m. And then the Sunny Channel if he decides to show up. So all right. that's the plug for TGIS.
There it is.
Okay.
Damon Story once again saying Pumpkin Boglins was just 100% had to be perfect.
Thank you.
The Chooch is in the house. Hello, dope Boglin enthusiast. Thank you. Miss Simmy Skies. I hate when Crazy Clown comes over. He left 14 empty Smirnoff bottles in my room and clogged the toilet again.
He's a menace. He's an absolute menace. I don't know why we let him on the show, to be honest.
Ratings, man. Controversy. Ratings.
He has a job to do, and he does it very well.
He does.
he does. It's driving us crazy. He's good at it.
Damien once again was saying the UK it helped. This is back when we're talking about you were talking about the overseas boggling success. They had Woolworths there was the best place for toys. Sadly, long gone.
Yeah.
And then another question for you, Tim, from Cutthroat Comics. What was your favorite character from Dark Crystal?
The Mystics. Well, and Augur. Augur was such an amazing puppet. Just her stance and her physicality, and I have been joined by my puppy, this newly acquired puppy, who's a little terror. Anyway, she's a character. So
you should see mine. He tries to eat everything in sight, and then he wants to play after he tries to eat it.
This puppy is 4 months old, and she's part Rottweiler, part pit bull, and she is not very big, but she is she's nothing but a mass of muscle. And it amazes me. And I go to pick her up. She weighs a ton, and she's like as tough as can be. There, that's Roxy.
Oh,
yes. I need a bath. So, yeah, she's too much.
Is that a Doberman Pinscher?
No, my wife rescued her from the streets of Gallup, New Mexico. She found her on the street, and she's definitely part Rottweiler, part pit bull.
Oh, okay. So I just saw the face.
Yeah, she's very sweet. But now she's fighting with my other dog, and I got to get them out of here. Hold on.
Yep, no problem.
Yet another break. All right, you two knuckleheads. Come on, out of here.
This is the content that the people came.
Come on, let's eat out.
Yeah, we're getting a look at Tim Clarke's real day-to-day operations here.
Really?
I saw this after you already sent a message in the chat, but the Briscoe, he
Yeah.
definitely wants a Boglin shirt.
Yeah, like boglins.com. Go grab that. And I think there's
Cool.
other ones, and I don't know. This is the only one I have because as far as OG shirts go, this is the most OG that I can get right now. So
No, there's a bunch of them that the guy who prints them for me, the silkscreen printer, is in Maine, and I'm blanking on the name of his Coast City. I think it's Coast City Comics is the name of his store, and he has a bunch of them that I've designed.
interesting.
People can find them there.
Excellent. We still got more chat, Aaron?
Yeah, I got a couple more here.
Okay.
And then we can roll back into some questions. The Briscoe had mentioned, as soon as it pops up, Sectaurs was one of his favorite toys back in the 80s. Said good to have him back here in the 2000s. Hope for much success. I said Nacelle's doing really good things right now, bringing back some of those nostalgia lines. So I gotta get that record from you, Ted. I gotta play with that Robo.
Okay, we'll get you a record. And then, by the way, the Sectaurs pre-order, helladopetoys.com, coming soon. Get your hands on them. Get them before everybody else, because they're gonna land here, and then they're immediately going to ship out to you, and they're gonna be there before you know it. In fact, I have a stack of boxes right here. Orders upon orders from all you guys. They're going out tomorrow morning.
That's great.
So,
that's great.
No Sectaurs yet, but pre-order, they'll go out. You all need to place a Boglins order though. Tomorrow morning it'll go out. I'll pack it tonight.
Unless it's a zombie Boglin.
Not a zombie Boglin. Zombie Boglins are June, right, Tim?
Yeah, hopefully the end of June.
Okay,
perfect.
The
Chooch says
they have not left China yet.
We know how that is.
Oh yes,
we know how that is. The struggles of waiting for it to get on the boat.
They should be done by the end of May, and then they'll be on the water, and it takes a month if we're lucky.
Okay.
Well,
so end of June, beginning of July, they should be shipping out.
Get them to you before PowerCon, y'all.
That's right. That's the plan, at least.
Right.
Chooch, his 7-year-old daughter loves teasing her mom with King Wart.
Awesome.
And then
Niece Nerds.
I'm gonna learn this name. I swear to goodness. Yeah.
Niece Nerds.
Okay. It says, do you and Chris have any plans for more Boglins after zombies, or since sales have slowed, will zombies be the last? Now I know you touched on, of course, some things that you can't mention yet, but is there anything that you can mention? Some future things.
We've talked about maybe doing samurai Boglins, but we're hesitant because right now Chris has a lot of stock in the warehouse of Bat Boglins, King Spunk. I think he still has quite a few of the alien Boglins, which they also glow in the dark like the zombies do. So if you can't get your hands on a zombie, you can always get an alien Boglin, which glow just as well. So we're waiting to, we're kind of wait and see mode. I had suggested to Chris that I do some concept designs and we put it out there and see what the response is, as far as who would want to pre-order them, whether it makes sense or not. So
I would definitely be all in for a samurai Boglin. That's right up my alley.
Yeah. And then the other issue is Tim always wants to do something new and different. and with samurai, it's a price point issue because I want to do like a Cinnabar red lacquered Japanese style box for them. And then I'm trying to think of ways as to how it would open. And I know some people were upset about the cost of the zombies. And I start thinking of these things and the dollar signs start clicking over in my head. And I go, well, maybe they'll get to be so expensive that people won't want them. I don't,
Well, I don't know,
You know,
Tim. I got some people right here in the chat right now saying Samurai Boglins, just take their money now.
Okay, all right. Well, it's something I have to get to this coming week, doing concept sketches. So
Wow,
we'll see what the
there's
response is.
a lot of response here. I thought Aaron was just talking trash. Oh, the chat's popping.
I don't talk trash about samurai stuff. That's them and knights. Maybe we should do like a knights zombies Boglins line. That'd be sweet too.
Night zombies.
Are we?
Don't zombies only come out in the night as it is?
I mean, I was told that the freaks come out at night, so I mean, it's quite possible they walk hand in hand.
Okay.
Okay. So are we good with chat for now?
We're good. Yep.
Cool. So I guess the next question will kind of go hand in hand with what we're talking about. So one of the most memorable things from Boglins in the 80s was the amazing commercials that they had. And, I understand, Mattel was a big company, but those were really good selling commercials. And when you did the Kickstarter, you accompanied that Kickstarter with some kind of vignettes on your own personal YouTube channel, like stories of the Boglins like slowly creeping back into your life and causing chaos. Which I loved those. Absolutely loved those. They were very amazing, really well done. And like you got your whole family in the cast and so much chaos in there. So I'm wondering, you've mentioned Chris is kind of a one-man band, but what kind of advertising can be done to kind of get the word out? Because the Boglin people do tend to live in a bubble, and the goal is to get these out there into more hands. What can be done, or is there any plan to do anything like what you did for the Kickstarter or anything close to the old Mattel commercials from the 80s?
Ted, do you remember our conversation earlier about me saying I can't talk about it?
That's what I like to hear.
I just want to make sure that you hadn't had
fine. Yet. Yeah. Okay. See,
like I said, as soon as contract gets signed and everybody says okay, I will let you guys know. Believe me, I'm not going to be holding back.
For the record, and I understand you're a very busy man, but seriously, you did like a 3-parter on the Boglins for your YouTube during the Kickstarter. Those were amazing. I especially liked the Thanksgiving one a lot. And then there was also kind of like the first one where I think you were maybe on a fishing trip and they were like, just causing chaos on your trip. And I absolutely loved that. Again, you're a busy man.
That was done with a really small production crew in Connecticut, and kind of on a wing and a prayer and a very limited budget. And Chris funded the whole thing, and a lot of the money for those quick little YouTube videos was from the Kickstarter campaign. So
okay.
But trust me, there's new and exciting things coming. I hope.
See, this is why we invited you on. You don't have to give it all away. We just like the little tease, We just like to. Yeah. This is what the fans want to know,
Yeah. Of course. Me too.
So, you're a strong believer in creativity for children, and a lot of the toys that you create are in regards to bringing creativity to children. We live in an age with iPads and YouTubes and kids not playing outside enough anymore. And you're over here still making puppets, which I strongly believe in, because, this guy right here inspired me a lot as a child. What do we have to do to get these back in the hands of children where they belong? Because right now, a lot of the demographic are people like me, grown adult collectors, just buying a whole bunch and just hoarding them back here. So knock my camera over.
Well, I think the power of the media and the internet, the perfect example of that was the Kickstarter campaign. And there hopefully will be more coming so that more children will be aware of the product line. And I have to say, recently I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and he was saying, well, Tim, you really need to sit down and write the Bible for Boglins.
I like
what
the
is
bobble.
yes, the real storyline. And I said, no, I purposely made it so that it's different scientists, different kids, different people who find Boglins who have their own kind of concept of what Boglins is, where they came from, what they do, how they react, because I want children and adults and people who are fans to enjoy what I enjoy as a kid and as an adult in thinking about how you play with puppets. I have done a lot of I've done a lot of work with teachers in grade schools about the power of puppetry, because you create the character, then, and a lot of art teachers now are being pushed to bring writing into their their teaching. And I said the great thing about building a puppet show is that you have to come up with an idea for a storyline, you have to write the script, you have to create the characters, you have to build the stage. So there's all these different art forms involved in making a puppet show, and they love it. And the puppets that I demonstrate with is how you build a puppet is with paper, because that's where you start. When I was working at Muppets, first you had to create a pattern to cut the foam, to cut the fabric, to cut and create the different parts of the puppet. So there's a lot of wonderful things about puppetry as a learning tool, and that's part of the reason I never wrote an exact storyline of the background of Boglins, because I want children to experience it for themselves and to make their own imaginary character. That's what I have done all my life, and it's brought me a great deal of fun and pleasure. And like I was saying before, seeing kids seeing Boglins for the first time and the way their faces light up and they get excited, and then they come over to the booth space where I'm selling them and I show them how they work, they're just immediately fascinated. And so it may take longer this time around to get make that happen, but it'll happen. Boglins sell themselves. As soon as people see them work, they come. People get it right away. They get what the possibility is. It's a great thing about them, and Sectaurs too. It's about creating an imaginary world of your own, and that's important for kids and it's important for adults.
Now, I don't know if Jim Largo's still in here, and there were also reviews from Retro Blasting in regards to this. Is it okay if we talk about the eye switch? Is that cool? The eyes.
I thought we talked about that already.
We talked about that beforehand. We talked about that.
Oh, we
talking
did?
about it for the public
Okay.
before we were live. So there's people that are getting in their hands that love it, and then just there's the sweeping of the eye, and you kind of mentioned that to me, and it makes sense. And I think a lot of people are just wondering if there's if that's going to be improved down the line, or if it just is what it is. But you gave a very legitimate reason as to why that happens. If you would like to go into that.
The lever that controls the eye movement back and forth, left and right, I made the lever slightly larger so it would be easier to move. That slight addition to the weight and the slight enlargement of the slot in the back of the eyes that makes them track back and forth makes it so that when they're at rest, they look left. Now, when I got the first samples, I loved it because it works more easily and it works better and it's more fluid. People have been bothered by the fact that they sit always to the left. It is what it is. To me, the mechanism is greatly improved. It doesn't have skips or bumps in it, so if you want to put your boglin in a box and sit it up on a shelf and having it stare directly at you, go get some silicone earplugs at any pharmacy. It's a little clear block of silicone. You usually get like 6 or 8 of them to a package. Because silicone is inert, it's not going to break down the rubber or the plastic. I use it when I photograph the boglins. Just take a little bit of it, you stick it to the lever, and it'll sit straight forward for the rest of eternity, if you wish.
Okay, that's good to know. I think that's a win-win on both sides there, because that is a lot, because we do know people that do use their boglins for some toy photography, and
right.
There are people that want to be creepy and just have their boglins stare at them all night. Maybe they just fall asleep looking at them in the eyes, and that's how they go down. We're not here to judge, but
you're right.
I appreciate that solution.
Neither is Crazy Clown. He's not here to judge.
No, Crazy Clown judges me harshly. Harshly.
Well, that's all about you, Ted. And
that's where this stupid Smirnoff bottle, man, little guy can't let it go. So I want to ask one more Boglins question. We'll hit the chat, and then if you're still good for time, we'd like to talk about some Sectaurs a little bit. If you're good,
sure.
All right, awesome. So. And I know you've already said, hey, I can't talk about it. But right now, what is your thoughts on the future of Boglins as a brand?
It can go anywhere, everywhere, and who the heck knows? I should know within a month's time.
Okay.
Where it's going next and how it's going to be handled and all that craziness.
Well, I understand you're bound by secrecy right now, and I'm glad we have you here to kind of talk about that a little bit, because
last week I didn't even know about this. So what can I tell you? It's like things happen sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but it's all good.
Before we hop into the chat, I just want to highlight, I don't know if it's pronounced Gary or Gary, but he runs the Bogs and Mods community on Facebook.
Yep.
It's a Facebook group for Boglin creators.
Yeah, I know him.
And he lets us promote on there. He's let us promote the show on here. Great guy, and has also placed Boglins orders through us. And I just wanted to take a moment to say, hey, thank you for coming and hanging out on the show, and thank you for allowing us to use the platform to promote our nonsense. But as I don't know how to undo things in the chat. All right, Aaron, let's take a chat break, and I'll unstar the thing I need to unstar.
You're good. You could have just kept up that one, honestly. The Briscoe, he likes to cuddle with his boglin. Since we're not judging or anything. But,
we're not judging, Briscoe.
Cuddle away,
Canadians.
Chooch says, I'd love to see a run of mini boglins.
So would I. On that right away.
Tim's write this down.
What's a new series of mini boglins, and the mold costs were prohibitive, and but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We'll work on it.
Tim will find a way. We'll figure it out.
Let's see. Damien, once again, Tim, did you have a hand in creating the trash heap in Fraggle Rock? What a character even had my grandmother laughing.
That was Jane Gutnick who designed the trash heap, and up until recently, she was still working at Muppets. I believe she recently retired, but Jane was an incredible creative force. And Jane and myself and Ed Christie, who ended up becoming head of the Muppet Workshop in New York, built all the radio-controlled singing Fraggles that you see in the opening sequence of the original Fraggle Rock show. And you only see them there because we designed and built them in the New York workshop. And when they got up to Toronto, where Fraggle Rock was shot, the frequency that the radio-controlled Fraggles was on was too close to the frequency of the radio for the fire station 3 blocks away. So that opening sequence was done once, and then they never used them again, because every time a fire truck went out of that fire station, the Fraggles, the radio-controlled Fraggles, it didn't happen to the Doozers, it didn't happen to the Gorgs, it just happened to the radio-controlled. They would go, and their heads would go off at a wrong angle, and Jim went, "Oh my God, this is a disaster." And so they hired a bunch of puppeteers to puppeteer background Fraggles after that. So
wonderful.
The joys of puppetry,
right?
And challenges.
Punk with Toys has joined the chat. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Now, these next couple ones, Tim, these are just suggestions from the chat. Write them down. Do with them as you will.
Okay.
But one suggestion was cyborg Boglins.
Cool. Okay.
Another one. How about
some drawings of robot cyborg Boglins years ago. Again, the challenge is the mold costs of how much are people willing to pay, and how many people out there are willing to pay it. It's like doing those mechanical additions to Boglin faces. It's a mold cost issue.
Mm-hmm. Axion Figs says the next line of Boglins will be warrior Boglins. You can do samurai, a knight, and a soldier and a barbarian.
Yeah. I mean, when I was making them individually myself, I was going off on all kinds of crazy tangents of what I wanted to make, and I did I did some zombie Boglins back then. I did some headhunter Boglins who they were shrunken head Boglins. I was doing all kinds of Amazonian headhunter Boglins, all kinds of crazy stuff. Who knows where they'll go next?
Now this last one, I mean, so just jot it down.
Okay.
Damien says finger Boglins.
Yeah, there were small finger Boglins that were done in Europe. I would love to do them again, and I've got a bunch of ideas for them. So we'll see.
You heard it from the man heard. We gave him our suggestions. Now we just wait. And then the last one, not so much a question, more just of a nice open statement from Rumble Toys. Out of all the toys in his collection, and he has a pretty big collection, by the way, his daughter gravitates to Boglins and now has a collection of her own.
I have to tell you, originally Mattel launched Boglins as a boy's toy, And when I first started doing Comic-Cons, I think it was around 2015, maybe, I had so many women coming up to me and saying, "Oh, Boglins. I had Boglins when I was little. I love them. They're so cute." And I was like, "Boglins are cute?" And this woman said, "Yeah, they're ugly cute." And I said, "Oh, okay." And if you had told a Mattel exec back then that Boglins was popular with little girls, they would not have believed you. But I cannot tell you the amount of women that come to me and say, as soon as they see them and they remember them, they tell me how fond they were of it when they were a little girl. And I was so surprised. And Chris and I did a promotional tour in Europe, and I had one of the pink alien Boglins sitting on the desk that I was sitting at, showing the Boglins to kids and adults and signing Boglins and all that stuff. And this little girl, probably like 4 or 5 years old, walked over, picked up the pink alien Boglin and kissed it right on the lips. And I was going, "Where's the photographer when I need him?" It's just like, that never happened before, and it hasn't happened since. But I was absolutely amazed. It was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Another question from the chat for you, Tim. Chooch wants to know what's a good paint, or would you recommend a type of paint for Boglin modifications?
There is none. I'm sorry to say. The original Boglins were made out of Kraton, which was a synthetic rubber developed during World War II to replace latex. I have even contacted the company that still makes Kraton. They said they know of nothing that will stick to it, permanently. There's, it has such stretch and elongation. It will not adhere to the old rubber. The new rubber, the factory won't tell me what they're using because they want to keep it secret. And I'm like, I can't win. I can't win.
I'm the guy that created this. I need to know.
I know. I would like to do more modification. I have had some success with some oil-based paints, which I add an adhesive to and a solvent, but I don't want to suggest that people try it because you need to be in a room which has a negative flow of air, and you need to be wearing a very specific chemical mask because the solvent is toxic. And I'm very hesitant about talking about, making hand-painted Boglins because of that. And then I haven't had really great results even with what I'm doing. If you add too much solvent, it makes the new rubber split, and I don't want people destroying their Boglins, and I don't like destroying them either.
But, well, tell them. I mean, we would kind of like the help because then we can sell them another one.
Destroy your Boglins,
and then come get a new one from us.
Okay. Well, if people are into destroying their Boglins, that's their thing.
Don't destroy your Boglins.
Don't
love
destroy
your Boglins.
Yes,
love your Boglins.
But buy duplicates.
Will love you.
Take
even crazy clown.
Even crazy clown. Oh, that guy.
There's another question that just popped up. It's from Damien. He's wondering, is there anything you can use on original Boglins to keep them smelling fresh, or anything that would not damage the rubber?
I only know this from the groups on Facebook, the Boglins followers. the best way to clean them is with dishwashing liquid that has OxyClean in it. It seems to work really well for removing the dirt. But personally, I like dirty boglins because they come from the bog. They shouldn't be gorgeous and clean. They should be gross and disgusting. But anyway, if you're into that, and then if afterwards you can put talc on them to, dry them. Dry them thoroughly, put some talc on them, and then they should be good. If they're already starting to turn to goo, the old ones, there's not much you can do about it. All synthetic rubbers have a shelf life, and people that still have them after 35 years, is pretty amazing that they've lasted that long.
Yeah.
Keep them out of that. One thing I will say, keep the old ones and the new ones out of sunlight. You don't want them, sitting in a window. Sunlight will basically break down the rubber faster.
All right, good. That was all the questions for now, sir.
All right. Well, so we'll change gears a little bit and talk about some sectors because they're coming back here in 2023, and I know we've dabbled a little bit on both because this is a two-ended question here, and you've already brought a little light to both. But one, can you give us a brief history for anybody who doesn't know what they are, and then follow that up with how we're now with Nacelle and bringing them back to life in 2023.
Yeah, well, as I was talking to you guys earlier, when I went to Halloween parties, I didn't like wearing a mask because you couldn't eat or drink or talk with a mask on. And so I created this hand puppet fly, and my fingers were its legs, and I had a long nose on it that I would dip in people's drinks or, brush against their neck, and people's reaction to it at the Halloween party were, wonderful. I even took it to a Halloween party at Jim's house in London, and it got an incredible reaction, even from a bunch of staid old puppeteers. So that was really cool. And when I first started working with Seven Towns on developing toy products, I pulled it out of a bag. Larry Mass, who was the head of the agency in New York City, saw it and he said, "Oh, this is fantastic. We'll put an action figure on the top of it." And that was the birth of Sectaurs. So then Maureen and myself did some prototypes and concept sketches, and it was shown to Coleco that year at New York Toy Fair, and they immediately wanted it. So they started production right after Toy Fair in February of that year, and Maureen and I did more, a ton of concept sketches. Maureen wrote the storyline behind the characters, and we started movie production in Los Angeles. And after 6 weeks of building both miniature stop motion animated Sectaurs and huge large scale Sectaurs for actors to ride around on, Coleco called us back to Connecticut and said that they were not going to continue with the movie because they didn't have the budget. They were in financial difficulty because of Atom Computer not selling or failing to and returning, and Atom Computer eventually drove Coleco into bankruptcy. So that was what ended Sectaurs as a toy line, unfortunately.
So what brings them back to Nacelle now?
Well, now, I mean, Maureen and myself and Seven Towns have been going to New York Toy Fair. They have an inventors night, and we have been showing it to every major toy company for years. We have never had any interest in it. And several of the people at Nacelle met me at a Comic-Con, and unbeknownst to me, they kind of got back together and in their office in Los Angeles and contacted Seven Towns about getting the license to bring back Sectaurs. So I'm very happy. I'm very excited to see where they go. Maureen has written a new storyline for Sectaurs, bringing it into the future and making it more contemporary with what we're dealing with in the world right now. And I think it's a brilliant storyline. I hope that Nacelle uses some of it or all of it, or, we shall see. And we also have some ideas about new characters and character development. And we're just at the very beginning of working with Nacelle on this. And so we'll see where it goes.
All right. Aaron, did you have a follow-up on any of that? Cool. All right. So and you said it's a wait and see, but how deep could you go right now? Because we're releasing a wave 1, based off
Sectaurs?
based off of what you guys have lined up. How deep could it go? How many waves do you think it could be, just based off of right now?
I think it will. I mean, Nacelle has said that they want to do a new animated series. I think it will depend on the success of the animated series and the future sale of the toy line. If the toys sell well, they'll keep going. It's like nobody's going to go, "Hey, this is doing really well. Like let's call it quits." It's like it just depends on how it's marketed, how it's received, and how many toy sales it generates. So, and we really are at the very, very beginning of this process. So, I just hope for the best.
Now, I know you're also working on some other things. I think it might be through Trey Action.
Yes,
but I may not be aware of everything. What projects outside of the Boglins and the Sectaurs are you working on right now?
Well, we just started to release Monster Brigade, which is a monster puppet where all the parts snap on and off, so kids can make the monster that they want. You can, put an eye where his leg goes, or you can put a leg where his ears go, or you can put arms on top of his head. I will have, we should be getting the first shipment, I hope, in June, beginning of July, and I will have them at PowerCon. And Legacy Pictures has approached us about doing a TV show based on Monster Brigade and a bunch of other characters I have designed. They're all hand puppets. It's going to be a kids' TV show, and I just got the first treatment last week. I'm very excited about it. It's something that really is an extension of, the way Jim, approached children's television. It's something that's kind of in my heart and soul. And so I'm very excited about that coming out. We're still working on the title of the show. And it'll be really neat if it goes through. But in this business, you never know.
That is
you never know what's gonna come to fruition or not. But the toys will definitely be out. The Monster Brigade puppets will be out, probably starting the beginning of July.
I am actually going to have to grab one of those. I saw the early commercials that you guys did for them, and that was right up my alley. So I'm definitely grabbing one of those. So you've had literally like and I don't want to say so many careers, but you've done so many different things in your career.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like you've gone through, you've accomplished more than what most people would in several lifetimes. Yet you're still going. You're still on a grind. You're still creating. You're still doing
No,
stuff.
it's not a grind. That's first of all, you have to understand. I have been working for many years to get these product lines back out, and the fact that it's starting to succeed is an incredible joy, you know, and an incredible challenge. And I'm constantly moving towards, doing new things. There's been many toy products over many years that I have shown to toy companies. I finally have in Triaction somebody who listens. And so believe me, it's like, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's joyous work and it's not a grind. And meeting people firsthand at Comic-Con shows that appreciate what I do or what I have done is very inspiring for me, and it makes me realize there's potential out there for other things that I'm doing. So
Well,
that's why I'm still doing it. And I was
saying,
lucky. I was very lucky that many of these things that I created happened when I was very young. So, it's all good. It's all good.
As a creator myself, I respect, the continuation of just following through. You just create, and that's what you do. Where a lot of people in your position would have been like, you know what, I did this, I'm packing it up, and I'm gonna go live on the island with the yacht and just do my thing. And you're still out there creating.
When any one of these products generates enough money for me to buy a yacht, maybe I will consider it. But
start small with a pontoon,
No, I hand build kayaks out of wood, and that's another great joy of mine is building wooden furniture and building kayaks. And I've built 2 wooden kayaks, strip built by hand. Each one takes me 6 months.
Oh wow!
And I, it's like I've been creative, since I was born, and growing up, doing haunted houses, doing puppet shows, doing, my friends and myself, when I was a little kid, built a tank in my backyard so that we could, it was right, I'm a post World War II kid, and World War II was, very important in our lives because our parents had, fought in it. So, we used to play Army all the time, nonstop, and we always had crazy things to do. And oh my gosh, now my ear pods are running out of battery.
Well, we're on the plus
side. Have to stop soon, guys. We're
wrapping up here. We're wrapping up here in just a moment. Aaron, we got a couple things in the chat, and then we'll promote our wares, and we'll release Tim back to the wild.
Thank you. But you may regret it.
Maybe. Looks like the chats are they're looking forward to all the cool things that are coming, that we're going to take all their monies, and we thank you for that. So just keep an eye out on all the social posts. We always post them up on what we got coming in. Hopefully we'll get the skinny on what Tim's brewing over there, and then as soon as he lets out the news, you're sure that we'll all know. And then Damien was saying he hopes that you can make it to one of the UK shows.
Yeah, sure. If I used to do the UK shows, it became so exorbitantly expensive to fly that I have not done them recently. If people want, if people are doing Comic-Con events or, toy shows in London or throughout the, other areas of the UK, if they want to pay my airfare, I'm happy to go. But the last couple of shows I did, no matter how much I sold, I was just lucky if I broke even. And, but that might change. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Damien was suggestion MCM London or Birmingham.
Sure. Yeah. Hey guys, if you know show promoters in the UK that want to help me out getting there, I'm more than happy to come. The last one I did was for Dark Crystal. It was just before COVID, and that was incredible. It was a reunion of all the people that had worked on Dark Crystal. It was done at Elstree Studios where Dark Crystal was shot, and that was an incredible experience. I was sitting next to Brian Froud and Wendy Froud, and Brian and I just started talking, and then after a little while, just as the show was opening, and Wendy poked Brian in the ribs and said, "Brian, you got to stop talking to Tim so much. All those people in that line are waiting for you to sign stuff." But we had a great, it was wonderful to see everybody. We all were so much influenced by Jim and his compassion and his ingenuity and his imagination. And, it was great to see all these people going off in different directions and doing new things and different things. It was fantastic.
So is there anything that you would like to promote, sir?
Monster Brigade, which will be, as I said, coming soon. That's probably the newest thing. Zombie Boglins is doing phenomenally well. There's very few left and as a pre-order, and pre-order Sectaurs, they'll be shipping soon too, the very first in that series. So those are the big three at the moment.
Awesome.
Apparently there's a sound in the background and a lot of people think it's Crazy Clown chasing a kid or a cat. We don't know.
Crazy Clown.
But yeah, that's Tim. I personally want to thank you for taking your time
my
today
pleasure.
and hanging out
My
with us
pleasure.
and getting the skinny on things to come. We definitely will be looking forward to seeing you at PowerCon here in Columbus, Ohio in August. We'll have plenty of Boglins for you.
Great.
But yeah, check out the website, helladopetoys.com. Zombie Boglins are still on pre-order. Sectaurs, Biker Mice from Mars. We got all the goodies. So go check them out.
Things.
We are going to start a new series coming up sometime this summer about our journey to PowerCon. We haven't given it an official name yet. So we'll have some guests on for PowerCon. Maybe Tim will get you back on when you.
Yeah, keep me updated.
Yeah. So hopefully you'll have some things that you can share then.
Yes, definitely.
But outside of that, my name is Aaron, aka the Black Knight. You can catch me on all the social medias at Black Knight Gaming. I just found out that my Twitch anniversary is coming up, so maybe we'll do a Twitch stream. Just kind of do something over there. I should actually. And then helladopetoys.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and
Thanks, guys.
that's all we got. We love you all. Tim, thank you. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Guys, we'll see you all next week.
See you.